Welcome to heaven.
Thank you.
Heaven?
Thank
Heaven,
you.
that's, yeah.
This is what it's like.
Wow.
Here in
Hey,
Iowa.
everyone.
Is this anybody's first time here in Iowa?
Not in Iowa. My first time in Des Moines, though.
I think same here. Yeah, I know I've been to Iowa before, but I don't remember if I've been to Des Moines or not. But never at a con. So this is our first.
Yeah.
First time. Love it, love it. The folks here are great. I love coming here every year. Just absolutely love the entire city. So 2 days ago, Bret, you celebrated your little birthday.
I was
Yes,
like,
happy birthday.
oh, thank
Happy
you.
birthday, Bret.
Yeah.
Did you do anything special, or did you had to work through it?
On my actual birthday, not really, but I did. Overall, I took a road trip up to Seattle and spent some time in Seattle and then Oregon, and that was all for my birthday. And then, of course, as it goes, on my actual birthday, all the plans went terribly. My big birthday meal was awful, and but I had a good trip overall, so you can't complain.
Now, again, where's my Disney fans in here? My Disney adults? Yeah?
There they are.
Me too. As you know, Bret, because many times you make your trips down to Florida and happen to run into each other
Yeah.
at the parks.
A lot. I see you more than I see family members.
Yes.
So were you, as Disney fan, me and Disney fans out here, were you guys Disney fans growing up as well?
Yeah, I think like most people, I wasn't exclusively a Disney fan, but I mean, I just loved animation. I just loved cartoons. I loved all of that, and movies, especially in middle of Kansas. That's about the only thing you have. So it's like, any movies I was a big fan of.
Yeah, definitely. I am a Disney adult. I'm sure I think I classify as that. And I grew up being a huge Disney fan. And you just asked about my birthday. One of the things that I did was yesterday, had a little birthday party with my family, and my mom decided to pull out all of like old family photos and little knickknacks and stuff she'd saved over the years for my brothers and I. So we just spent the night going through photos. And I don't know that there was any photo where I wasn't wearing a Mickey Mouse hat or a Mickey Mouse shirt or something. And it was like almost ironic to look back and be like, my God, I really was a Mickey fan, like from the very beginning. So.
Is there a particular moment that stands out? The first time that you heard Mickey or Goofy's voice that you're like that you can go back to and be like, yes, that movie, this short was the first time that voice stood out to me.
Not a particular movie. Goofy was my favorite character growing up just because he was so silly, and I thought he was the funniest. And I always loved comedians and comedy. So he was I was just drawn to him like that. But nothing that I can remember exactly that. I love the old how-to cartoons. The how to ski, the beauty of skiing, that kind of thing. And so when I knew that they were on TV or found that they were on TV, they attracted me the most.
Yeah, I think I kind of, again, grew up just watching and absorbing anything I could with Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse. So a lot of the classic shorts, Brave Little Tailor is one of my favorites, The Pointer. I watched those over and over. Mr. Mouse Takes a Trip, hey, we're here. I love all that classic stuff, but what really I remember there's two projects that really kind of cemented Mickey's voice in my head, and the first is Fantasmic at Disneyland. I remember when that debuted in 1992, and then the other one was The Prince and the Pauper.
Yeah.
I remember I was at a warehouse video, and I found it on cassette on VHS, and I was so excited to bring it home, and I watched that over and over and over again, because as much of a Disney and Mickey nut as I was as a kid, I was also really into like just orchestration and sound effects and sound in movies. And for whatever reason, Prince and the Pauper was one that stood out to me. It had like an amazing soundtrack, and the audio was, we had a surround sound system at that point.
Gosh.
So I was obsessed with that film.
That makes me feel old. That was the first movie that I saw that I had done on a movie theater, actually.
Well, I didn't tell you how old I was when I got it. I could have been 30, if it makes you feel better. But you know otherwise.
Now, you mentioned that was the first the first film you did. How did you get involved in voicing Goofy? Was it an audition? Did you
Yes,
have to go
absolutely.
through
Yeah. Long story short, I always loved to do impressions, and I just picked it up off of TV, and I do those at home and everything, and it kind of became a fascination with me, and I got into radio, so I would include characters I would create just because I was bored. And later on, I'd moved to Dallas, and I got into stand-up comedy and impressions. And I did that for about 5 years before deciding, okay, let's try our hand at Hollywood and see what happens. Moved out there, was able to get an agent, and about 5 months later, they said, do you do any of the Disney characters? And I'd played with the voices, but I had never really included them in my comedy act or anything. And I got Pinto Colvig on a cassette of Goofy, the original voice, and so I just copied it as best I could, just only got it up for over a weekend, and I had no idea how many people were trying out. I found out later it was like over 1,000 people tried out, and they picked me, and so January 23rd, 1987, I got my first chance to actually do Goofy. Now, they don't sign you to a long-term contract.
Right.
And as it is still today, we're all independent contractors. We're not Disney employees as such. So every job we do is still a new contract, every cartoon to this day. And so after 38 years, I think I have the job. So,
And Bret,
I think you're safe.
I mean, Bill, you spoke about animation, but that's kind of what you were doing. You were, working for Hallmark, right? And then it was some friends of yours who maybe encouraged you to go after this role, huh?
Yeah, it was very random for me because my career path was set on the arts, visual arts specifically. So I went to school for illustration. I was working at Hallmark as an illustrator and graphic designer. And it just so happened my friend who works at Pixar got the email that outlined the audition process that was going on. And it was just an audition. They were looking for someone to understudy with Wayne Allwine, who was the voice of Mickey at that point. And she knew I was a Mickey fan. She knew I did an impression. We went to school close enough to Disney World that we would go together frequently. And we'd walk in the park and I'd say, "Oh boy." And that was about the extent of my Mickey impression.
Right, that was
but she was like, "You got to try out for this." So that was it. And it's funny to hear you say you spent a weekend rehearsing because I feel like we imagine these big moments and milestones in our lives, and we're gonna like prepare, like overly study, overly prepare. I think I probably rehearsed for a day before I submitted my audition because I was so excited. I couldn't wait. I just wanted to like do it and send it off into the universe and let it be done. So yeah, the email outlined the audition process. I practiced for a day. I submitted my audition, and then the rest just kind of unfolded from there. Yeah.
You mentioned impressions. On an average convention day, how many impressions of your characters do you guys hear while in line?
a lot. Everyone does that. And I remember Wayne saying that the only problem he had with doing Mickey's voice is, why do I do a character that everyone can do?
It's true. Everyone loves oh boy, hot dog. Somebody asked me today, like, how many times have you written ha-ha? And I was like, actually, I don't think I've ever written ha-ha, but
That's something to do.
it's a new day. It's funny, somebody at the last convention said to me, like, oh, I've been doing a Mickey impression forever. I do a really good Mickey, well, I guess I do a you impression. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah,
Like,
it
really,
is.
I mean,
It
especially
is.
for you.
Yeah.
38, 37 years later, they're doing an impression of you doing Goofy.
That's right. After that long, it's kind of like, wow. People love doing that for their kids. A lot of fathers will do the voices, and a lot of people come up and say, my dad used to do Goofy all the time for me when I was little, and hearing you do it is wonderful and everything. And I just say, gosh, thanks,
I mean, that's really why I actually attempted in the first place to do a Mickey impression at a young age. Was my grandfather did a Donald Duck at family get-togethers, and I could never do it. And so I thought, well, I can't do Donald, but I'm gonna do one better. I'm gonna do Mickey.
Was there, once you landed that first role, like you said, it's a show by show, movie by movie, project by project contract. What was the pressure? Was there pressure on you to do a good job, or was this just, all right, hey, I got the job, just go out and do it?
With me, there's always a lot of pressure to do the best you can.
Right.
That's all you have to do is do the best you can and hope for the best, and hope that they call you again to do it another time. And just, and it's also weird when you first see your character on screen. Or, as I say, Prince and the Pauper was the first time I'd ever done Goofy where I saw it in a theater with an audience. And so I was able to hear their response. That was kind of scary and cool at the same time. And you don't want to go too far into, oh, I could have done that better, or, oh, that's the take that they picked. You just have to kind of go with it, and I've learned to just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, these characters by default are intimidating. They're legacy characters who have a history all their own. Mickey Mouse, especially being kind of an iteration of Walt Disney, a personification of Walt Disney, and Walt was the first voice of Mickey. So the pressure was definitely there in the beginning, and although there's comfort that you develop over the years, you kind of, I mean, Bill even said to me very early on, he said, "Do you find yourself thinking about making the sound more than like acting?" And I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Don't worry, after a while that'll go away. You'll just slide right into the character, and you'll be more about the performance and whatnot." And that's true. But to Bill's point, it doesn't matter what we're working on. There's still, the pressure of just wanting to make sure you're doing right by these characters and that you're delivering your very best. Whether it's a toy that's going to sit on the shelf in Target and no one may ever see, or a motion picture or a show in front of the castle at a theme park. It doesn't matter. We work on so many different things, and I can't tell you how many small projects. Mickey will be on Dancing with the Stars, and he only says 2 words. But if I was feeling a little off that day, if I had allergies or something was bothering me, I'll hear it, and I'll be like, "Come on, I want to redo it." Like, it was awful.
So do you spend time, or do you focus on keeping, Mickey and Goofy's voice fresh, but at the same time knowing that there is a tone, a personality that people love, that a familiarity that they love, but also try to keep it updated with the times?
Kind of with different projects. Every project I find has a different vibe. A Goofy movie had a totally different vibe than Goof Troop did, or Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, or they all have their own kind of style and vibe, and you just kind of get into the feel of that, and you just kind of go with it. And I find that's usually the best. Not try and outthink it, just go with the flow.
I think the beauty of these characters is that they're not known for, Mickey and Friends is a franchise, if you want to label it as such, but these characters aren't known for one particular franchise.
Right.
You've got Kingdom Hearts, you've got Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, you've got the theme park versions, the cruise ship versions. And so, in a way, it lends itself to portraying these characters like they're professional actors. And they themselves are going to approach each different project slightly differently, depending on the tone, depending on the audience, depending on the application of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's what we call the arena voice. Yeah, right. And when we do, Disney on Ice, and if it's going to be presented in a big auditorium, a skating thing, and it's echoey. So I always slow Goofy down a little bit and enunciate a little bit better. Not better, "Gosh, Mick, what's going on?" It's more like, "Gosh, Mick, what's going on?" And so the people will be able to hear in the audience out there because it's a little echoey.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned theme parks, you mentioned cruise line, which we're all big fans of. Do you have a favorite project, whether from the parks, from the cruise line? Because Bill, I got to say, just recently did an Alaska cruise where Goofy shows up at a lumberjack show. So that one was that one might be my new #1 favorite Goofy appearance. Do you guys have a favorite project from the parks, from the cruise lines that you guys did?
On the parks, I don't know. Let's see what.
I'm jealous that Goofy gets to be a lumberjack. I want to be a lumberjack.
Yeah, that would be. There's some of them I don't even think I've seen that one.
I was going to say, yeah, it's hard. We do so many that it is tough. You don't really see all of them, and you can only beg to go on so many cruises.
Like there's the one with Captain Minnie and it's presented in the Walt Disney Theater
Yeah.
on stage, and I can't remember the name of the
Seize
show.
Seize the Adventure.
the Adventure.
Exactly.
Seize the Adventure.
Goofy
That was a lot
swimming
of
on
fun
the-
because Goofy got to do some fun little singing of things that he didn't actually sing, and it was kind of based around Goofy and Minnie, and when Goofy gets a chance to sail a ship, it's always a lot of fun, and that was a great one. But there's so many of them over the years, I can't think.
Yeah, I find it hard to pick a favorite when it comes to theme park or cruise ship shows we've worked on. Similar to what you said about seeing a Goofy movie, or I'm sorry, Prince and the Pauper in the theaters. The theme parks are really one of the best ways for us to see our projects and see the audience react to something. Because unless you're sitting down with your family to watch a TV episode, we really don't get that interaction very often. But when you're at Disney World or on a cruise ship, you're with a big group of people.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd be lying if I said it's not pretty cool when Mickey, Donald, and Goofy and Minnie come running out and people cheer. It's like a
Yeah,
rock
that's so
concert.
cool.
And you're like, hey, I know him. It's really special, yeah.
So now at this time, if you guys have questions, we got some time for some questions. If you have some, please feel free to line up. What is inevitably going to happen is 30 of you are going to get in line when we have 5 minutes left. So I encourage you to do so soon. While folks are lining up, I'm going to ask you: Is there a blooper? Do you guys have a favorite blooper one that maybe that you're allowed to say here?
That's a good
that you're allowed to say here that maybe accidentally came out.
Well, they generally don't come out because they get cut out of the show. But there are people that Doc Kane, who records a lot of movies over there, he's got a whole list of like outtakes and bloopers and stuff like that. And there's some non-Disney things that have probably been said over the years when you make a mistake, and
Yeah,
those are fun if you ever get to hear them.
You know you've really made the mistake because the digital tape, so to speak, is running the entire session, and we'll make jokes and you'll flub and you'll say stuff and you'll say sometimes things you shouldn't say, just slip out. But it's really bad when the director will be like, "Hey, make sure we delete that last 40
don't
seconds.
let it get in the
delete,
archive."
no evidence, no evidence, please." It's always inadvertent though.
Hello, what's your name?
My name's Jess.
Hi, Jess.
Hey, my question is, do you have any fun or interesting stories about working on Kingdom Hearts?
Kingdom Hearts. That's a most unusual project I think I've ever done because it was done in Japan first. And so the first game, it was totally, these characters are kind of out of their universe, and they're going into Ariel's sea and, all of these other places, different worlds, and that they kind of feel out of place. And I was saying, I hope this thing works. I don't know. And we're listening to the Japanese actors. So I'm listening to the actor who does Goofy in Japanese, who learned how to do the laugh by listening to me. It's kind of weird. And the Japanese actor speaks his lines a little faster than I do. And it's very odd, Japanese Goofy. It's like, and okay. And then I've got to use the same length of time to put the English words in and match Goofy's lips as close as I can. And so, come on, Zora, let's go. I kind of push it and make it a little quicker. That's the only restraint we really have, because normally we don't have a script. We aren't looking at anything, so we can do it however we want. We can ad-lib a little bit, add a different laugh or whatever. That is a little odd, the Kingdom Hearts, and it's difficult because you're doing, the script is like this, and it'll be like, okay, go to page 16, do line 134. Okay, now go to page 87 and do line whatever. You don't get a sense of the story. It's just line after line that you're just concentrating very hard to match the video. And it doesn't give you that room to act. You're kind of
Confined.
Confined,
Yeah.
yes. And so that That's difficult, actually.
Yeah, it's a tedious process. It is fun in a way because it's almost like you're playing a video game, and the fact that you're trying to get your performance slotted into these predetermined time slots. I have tremendous respect though because those games are so well written and the story is so full in a way that, to Bill's point, you know, a lot of people will ask us, well, what did you think or what's your favorite scene? And I always feel like I'm letting you down when I admit that I don't know. Because to Bill's point, we're only given as much as we need to know for the context of the line. So we're not given the bigger picture. And what he's seeing is totally different than what I'm seeing. And so what I know about Kingdom Hearts, I've learned from watching the cutscenes on YouTube because I don't know how to play video games. And I don't think I'm going to learn how to by playing Kingdom Hearts. But
may your heart be your guiding key.
Thank you so much. Hello, what's your name?
My name's Austin. How are you?
hey, Austin, good.
Very good.
So,
My son's name.
oh, nice. Speaking of Kingdom Hearts, it's been announced that Kingdom Hearts 4 is in the making. So, have you two started recording for your voice lines yet? Or?
No, and we won't until after it's released in Japan, and usually sometime after that, which can be a month to 10 years, I think, they will call us, and we usually get like a week's notice. You know, say, wait, we need you next Wednesday to start on Kingdom Hearts 4 or whatever. And we have not gotten that call yet. So we're waiting just like everybody else. When they'll do it, they don't let us know way ahead of time. We just, okay, we'll be there next week.
I'll never forget someone came up to my table at a convention and said, hey, so Kingdom Hearts 4, are you excited for that? And I said, well, I will be whenever it comes out. And they said, well, they just dropped the trailer. And I said, they did? I didn't know. We don't know. So you guys usually know more than we do before we know. So we're going to start asking you.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know when we're going to
When
record
is
for Kingdom Hearts 4?
Yes. Yeah. What do you know?
Well, I'm not really sure about recordings and stuff, but
Okay, just let us know when you're ready, and we'll get in the booth.
Let us know.
Thank you, Austin.
thank you.
Hello, what's your name?
Hello, my name's Jacob, and I was
Jacob?
just curious with all your projects and stuff you did. Is there any fond, like, one that you really loved working on?
Oh, gosh. Well, from the response, obviously, a Goofy movie, this being the 30th anniversary, is a lot of people are talking about it, and it has gained in popularity thanks to the fans. It was discovered really by the fans. The company didn't put that much into it because it wasn't a big tentpole release. And so it didn't get the notoriety at the time that I thought it was quality enough to get until the fans discovered it on VHS. And now over the years, it has gotten so much more popular that it amazes me the reaction that it gets now. And I'm very proud of that. You got me going down this weird rabbit hole in my brain thinking about there's a lot of things we work on that don't necessarily get the attention that you hope they do. And one recently was Mickey and the Very Many Christmases. That we did. It was a holiday special that came out last year, which I really loved. I thought it was really well done. I had really catchy songs and music in it. It was a really cute story. I'm really proud of that.
That was the stop motion?
No, it's not stop motion actually. It's computer animated. Mickey and the
That was,
it's like Groundhog's Day, but Christmas.
Yeah.
But the stop motion ones are great too. The other project that'll always remain very near and dear to my heart is when they updated Fantasmic. I was brought back into the booth to re-record Wayne Allwine's iconic lines, and that's what I grew up on, as I'd mentioned, and kind of how I learned to emulate Wayne's performance. And so getting to record that was a tremendous honor, and it's now in 2 parks, and I get to go watch it, and it still gives me goosebumps. So
Thank you so much.
thanks.
Hello, what's your name?
My name's Nicholas.
Hi,
Jose.
Nicholas.
On the topic of video games, I was wondering what was it like doing the recordings for Epic Mickey?
Well, that was.
The first one, we didn't actually speak.
I was going to say, very little to say.
There were you have to do it in,
How many ways can you make an agreeing sound? 15 different ways.
Wait, I didn't even say garsh.
I was going to say.
Go.
I remember it was like, make a curious noise. oh. Nope, you can't say oh.
Yeah.
Say, then,
Oh. Yeah, how do you
can't
do
be
that?
closed mouth. It has to be.
It was much easier doing Pluto on that than it was with Goofy. Whoa! Okay, that's right. That's good.
Epic Mickey was a bit intimidating for me because I knew that it was like a different story for Mickey, and the reintroduction of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and Frank Welker made noises for Oswald in that series. But it's been awesome to see how many people love it, especially with the rebrushed coming out. I get asked all the time if there's ever going to be a 3. Not that I know of, but I would love to be able to go back
would
to
be
it.
nice.
But
Second one we got to talk in, didn't we?
yeah, we did get to talk in the
that
cutscenes
makes it
of
much
that.
easier.
But video games are always awesome. I always love to tell the story. It's like you're making all these noises. Think of all the commands and stuff you're calling up on the controller, and we've had to make all the noises for that. Whether you're it's like trip and fall. Okay, now trip and fall off a cliff. Like you do so many, you leave those sessions like 4 hours of just screaming weird noises.
Yeah, those are bizarre.
Yeah, like punch somebody.
I thought that they
How
would
does
have.
that sound? What does that sound like when Mickey punches someone?
Oh, I thought they would have done a Goofy yell once, got it perfect, and used that always. No, it's every week. There's a new one.
Easier to
Okay.
ask you to do it than to pull it up.
Yeah,
No.
it's.
I guess we shouldn't
that's
be
easy.
complaining. We're happy to go in and make noises. Good question. I hope that answered it. Sorry, I went off the
you.
rails. I spilled the ink. Hot.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Nathan.
Hey, Nathan.
So my question is, when you guys have to do the different registers and stuff with your voices, how much strain does it feel like it puts on your lyrics and stuff when you do that?
Different voices are different. I did, it wasn't with Disney, but Warner Brothers when I did Space Jam. Yosemite Sam, even Mel Blanc didn't like doing Yosemite Sam because it's yelling. It's very loud and very gravelly, so those gravelly voices are tougher on your throat. Goofy is not hard. We always do Pluto. After we do all the Goofy lines, we'll go back and do the Pluto lines because the whoa, and then you get all of these strange things like, a quizzical bark, there's things like that. And that can be a little tough on the throat after a while. So sometimes if you do it too much, you might strain something, then you sound like this.
Yeah, Mickey's voice is a trick voice. It's a falsetto, so it requires a lot of sinus control. So for me, it's less about the strain that's put on the vocal cords as much as it is being subjected to the air conditioning in the room or the allergies outside
Pollen,
or the pollen, like all of those things. So there's so many people always say like, what do you do to protect your voice? I'm like, I don't know, because I'll wake up tomorrow and it'll be like, oh, that hotel room had a bad air conditioner and now I've lost
Leather
Mickey's
pillows.
voice.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
But yeah, so there's techniques, in the session where if there's a lot of screaming in the script, like, maybe we'll work through the more simple dialogue first and go back to save the screaming for last so that you're not hitting it at the top and then, ending up with raspy Mickey towards the end. But it's also just like, I always love to tell people, if you were to stand and talk for 3 to 4 hours, would your voice be tired at the end? And I think we can all agree that yes. So just imagine doing that, but in a trick voice. And yeah, I drive home and oh, hold on, let's see who's calling. New York, it's a spam. Should I take it?
Yes,
I'll be
absolutely.
like, you owe back taxes. I get that one a lot. And I don't owe back taxes, for the record. I don't, but they like to call and tell me that.
That's some clickbait article by News Today is going to be like, Bret Iwan being tracked down by the IRS.
I do not owe taxes, but I always get the call that's like, you have back taxes due. I'm like, no, I don't. Sorry, off the topic here, totally off rails.
There's no camera.
Yes, sometimes your voice hurts after performing Mickey. Sorry. I just got off a plane. I am so loopy. I've been up since 2:30 in the morning, California time.
Hello, what's your name?
Hello, my name is Dustine.
Hi.
Hi. My question is, one of my favorite Goofy cartoons was when he used to go in the car and had a whole different, personality. And he had that rage thing. What was your guys' favorite, if you had to do, one of those kind of things where you flip characters? Did you have a favorite?
Flip characters? I didn't
Kind of like
quite.
you did an alternate version of your character.
Yeah, kind of like for Mickey, he's like I've played Count Micula before.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
have you ever
when
done
you
a
do the-
Goofy has Goofy ever done a role? I guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I have done a little bit, but I mean, there's a difference in each. As I said before, there's a difference in each incarnation of Goofy. He was different in a Goofy movie than he was in Goof Troop. That was a kind of a Saturday morning high energy kind of thing, so it was sillier. A Goofy movie kind of exposed emotions that we'd never seen before. So, and that was the hardest part of that movie is how do you make it sound like he's worried about Max and he's serious and he's disturbed and he's upset and, angry. Emotions we really hadn't had to show before. And to keep it still goofy. That was the hardest part. And we did a lot of recording on that. Over 2 years worth of recording off and on for that. Probably about 40-some days over a 2-year period to get it just right. But it's those emotional things is how you take the character. It's the emotion that pushes the words out. So if you get the emotion right and the acting right, it'll come out right.
Yeah, I think these characters are very well known for the high level character traits that they possess. But anytime you get a chance to go dig a little deeper and have those moments, I think it feeds an acting bug that we have, a performing bug, right? Where you just it's fun to say "oh boy" all day long, but when you get to have a little emotion, that's exciting. And then I brought up Count Micula, which is kind of a silly iteration of Mickey in the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse series we did 15 years ago, where he plays this Transylvania mouse, and I put on the most cheesy Transylvania accent. My name is Count Micula. Ha 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 ha. It wasn't. It's like I was like being the Count off of Sesame Street, but it was fun because I mentioned Prince and the Pauper being one of my favorites. I was always so envious of Wayne getting to do the British Prince.
Mickey.
Yeah. So that was my iteration. I hope I get a chance to do something else with a little bit more gravitas. But
They even had a vocal coach on that, as I remember.
oh, did they really?
They did. They brought
I
in
wondered.
a vocal coach.
Oh, wow.
So
all
he
right.
did it right.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that's something you don't want to
Wanna
offend,
mess it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, what's your name?
I am Gina.
Hi, Gita.
So, do you ever find yourselves concerned or worried that you might, ever get in trouble with Disney if you accidentally, do or say something you shouldn't have with the voices?
Well, no, I just try and give the character the respect he deserves, and that is pretty much it. So I'm not gonna do that. So,
Yeah,
so
there's
they haven't called yet.
yeah. It's easy to not be afraid of that when you kind of put a hard line in the sand and say, I'm not going to do anything that the character would not do. And there's something I've noticed with these characters that are inherently good. People like to see that goodness taken away sometimes, and so they want you to say a bad word. They want you to act out a scene from some movie that doesn't really fit with these characters, and it just doesn't work. Like these characters, if you have the respect for them that we do in preserving them in these roles, then you don't even want to go there, because it's not. It's like that's not Mickey. Mickey wouldn't say that, so no. So yeah, it makes it easy not to worry or be afraid because we have too much respect for the characters, like you said. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Bill, you brought up Pluto. At what point, while doing Goofy, did they come to you and ask if you could also do Pluto as well?
I've been trying to remember if it was my first or second week doing that because I did a thing called MTV, like DTV, Disney. It was a mix-up between MTV with Disney clips and music. And the first one was A Doggone Valentine. And I think I did a Pluto in that. They just needed a dog bark, and they put it against Pluto. So it was kind of just on the spur of the moment. Who can bark? Bill, can you bark? Whoa! Okay, And that was almost the way it occurred. It might have been in the second episode of that we did about a month later. and I'm not 100% sure. I need to go back and see if I can find the whole thing and listen to it. But it's just about the same time that I got Pluto, and it was just I was just fathered in because Pinto Colvig, the voice of Goofy, had done Pluto several other people. Jimmy McDonald had done it, and they just, that's fine, okay, that'll work.
Really picky back then.
Yes.
Really picky. Hello.
Hi, I'm Nick.
Hey, Nick.
How does it make you feel knowing that you are the voice behind these international icons that have brought such joy, smiles, and honestly just brightened so many people's lives?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest joys of getting to voice these characters is knowing how affected people are by them and how much people love them and how and what the things we're working on, how these projects we work on make people feel. I mentioned just a big Disney fan like everyone else, and so all of those emotions I felt watching the cartoons or the movies back in the day, I still get goosebumps thinking that somebody on the receiving end of this is being affected the way I was.
And that's one of the best things about doing a Comic-Con, are the fans that come up and say that, I couldn't talk to my dad and a Goofy movie became our thing. And the stories that I'm hearing, it's just very heartwarming because we don't get that sense when we're in the booth reading this and performing it. You're worried about performing it, that's all. And you hope that it is responded to and is accepted and does some good things out there. But to hear it from fans is really gratifying, and it's one of the main things I love to hear when I do a Comic-Con. So yes, it is very important, and I can't think about it when I'm in the booth, or I'm going to freeze up a little bit and can't just let it go. I think they'll cut out the bad stuff and they'll leave the good stuff. So I just kind of go with it.
I was just asked by a director my last session. He told me about he was at a church group, and one of the kids he met was like a huge Mickey fan, and he said, "Hey, would you mind recording a message for him?" And I was like, "Of course, absolutely." And he'd written something, and to your point about thinking about it too much in the moment, there have been those times, like in this instance, I'm recording it, and it was just a really cute script about some of the challenges the kid had gone through, and I'm an emotional guy, and so I got choked up thinking about this kid receiving a Mickey from message. A message from Mickey, because like the power of these characters is not lost on us at all. I was really shy as a kid and through my 20s, really. And I like to say that Mickey is the mutual friend that kind of got me out of it, because I could not be sitting up here talking to you guys 15 years ago. I would have been beat red and terrified, but we all have a friend in common, and it's Mickey and Goofy. And so it's like going to a party where you don't know anybody, and then you find that one person you do know, and it's like, oh, thank goodness, I can go talk to them. So it's great to be at these events and get to share in something that we all know and love.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, what's your name?
Hello, I'm Leo.
Leo.
I just wanted to ask, I adore when voice actors make music with the voices, and I was wondering, like, does it surprise you when you're asked to do, like, music with the voices, and how does the process change with that?
It was fairly rare in the early days, but now with the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Plus, we have new songs in every episode. So we're doing it much more than we used to do. But I always my wife tells a story that's kind of funny, because I grew up in South Central Kansas, and we were back there, and she was talking, and someone was asking, well, how's the Goofy thing going? Says, oh, yeah, well, just did this album where he was singing, classic hits or food songs or whatever. And my aunt said, well, I don't know how that's possible. He was never in the choir. It's like, okay, now we get some, but I guess, thinking about it, the original audition, did yours have any singing?
No, it did not. And unlike you, I received the male choral award when I graduated high school.
Okay.
Probably only because
I was too shy.
There was
I
only
would never have sung.
Well, there was only 3 guys in the choir when I graduated, so the competition was not that tight. But I did not sing in my audition, and I didn't think, oh yeah, Mickey's gonna have to sing. So I remember the first session I walked into, and they're like, and there's a song, and I thought, what?
They don't ask, they just say, here's your song, okay.
I literally walked in one day, I had no idea. Bret, can you record at 4 o'clock on Thursday? Sure. I come in at 4 o'clock. Well, welcome. Today we're doing a Christmas album for Target. I was like, what? You know these songs. I was like, sure, but a little warning would have been nice.
Yeah, that's...
La, 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 la. But it is fun. I've grown to actually love
I do
singing.
too, I do too.
Yeah.
It's a great deal of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so we got a couple minutes left. Time for one last question. Hello, what's your name?
Hi, my name's Josh.
Hey, Josh.
So I'm actually one of the people that can't do Mickey.
Oh.
I've been a
My
big
new best
fan
friend.
Yeah. I've been a fan of Goofy for almost 40 years. So you mentioned before that a lot of people do Goofy and with a deeper voice. Is there something you do with Goofy's voice to prepare for his ah-hooey scream? Because I can't hit that.
Yeah, it prepares for which wasn't really Pinto Colvig in the first place. That came from The Art of Skiing in 1947, and it was a yodeler by the name of Hans Schroll. And he was did the thing, which I have to do really loud when I do it. But there's nothing getting ready for it. It's usually like, oh, the next line coming up, Goofy yells. And that's about as much experience, or getting ready for that line. If you read through the script beforehand, which is always good to do, you know, I want to do a few yells. And they always have to back off the volume on that because it's so loud. But there's no getting ready for it, really. It's just, you do it, really. And I think that
you've got a good range for it because you can deliver Goofy's normal range, but then that definitely takes you up.
Yeah, well, you practice without getting too deep into it. Voices are basically three things. They are what your vocal cords do, they do what your tongue does, and they do with what the situation is. So if I'm saying to Mickey, and I'm not doing Goofy, if I'm doing another voice, if I wanted to do a deep voice like that, I can, that's what your vocal cords are doing. Now I can talk in a New York accent, or I could do an English voice as well. That's what your tongue does, the articulation. And then but if I'm doing Goofy with Mickey, and I say, gosh, Mickey, let's get out of here. Now, they say, oh, well, the room you're in is on fire. Oh, that changes things. Let's get out of here! You just change it. So that's kind of the three things. It's, kind of what your throat does, what your tongue does, and the situation. And that's a brief explanation of acting.
Look at that. Voice acting 101.
Voice acting, exactly.
Heard today.
So we're just about out of time. Are there any last words? Do you guys have any projects? Are there, as we are coming up on Halloween time?
There's usually Halloween's always fun for the characters. I love some of the Halloween stuff that we've done, but I know I'll say this the other night. This happened this week. My son took me to the Dodgers game, and I know that I have kind of captured, or at least a Goofy movie has captured the public's consciousness, because when there was 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out, eye to eye, they had that, and so the person on the sound, dun, 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 did that, and everyone was clapping and yelling and stuff like that, so I know, well, if it's at the Dodgers game, it's popular.
Pop culture.
That happened this week, so that was cool.
Yeah, we work on so many. People are always like, "How often are you in the studio?" I think it's safe to say we're usually in the studio at least once a week, working on something for Disney. A lot of the things we can't necessarily I'm thinking in my head. Well, I just worked on some Halloween stuff, but I don't know if I can tell you about it.
Yeah,
so I'm
it might be for next Halloween.
It might be for next Halloween. So we're always working on something. We're not always in those positions to be like, tune in on Sunday for our next, But yes, there's more exciting stuff.
There is a lot of stuff to come.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Plus is probably our most current new iteration of TV shows, and it's out on Disney Plus, and it's premiering on Disney Junior, and it's doing really well from what I hear. So we're going to keep working on that one.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you all for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Before we go, would you guys like to take a a gigantic group selfie up here.
Yeah, why
So if you
not?
guys want to gather up by the stage, not on the stage, but by the stage, we're going to take a
How do I
little
do this?
group photo
Got
here.
lights.